Today on a special crossover episode, two teams that need a series win. One team hasn't won a series all year. Another team is looking to get right and get back into the mix at the top of the NL West.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock On Rockies fans and Giants fans, welcome into a special crossover episode today of Locked On Rockies and Locked On Giants. I'm one of your hosts today, Paul Holden, joined by the one, the only Ben Kaspick of Locked On Giants. We're bringing you daily Rockies and Giants talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies or the San Francisco Giants, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies and Locked On Giants YouTube channels, where your support is the best way to help the show grow. Hey, before we get into all the action today, today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go, the fast-paced game that lets you team up with friends in tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. Download Monopoly Go, now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Ben, you know what I appreciate about you is you're a realist. And in our NL West preview to start the season, you said you're not buying into the Nolan Jones hype. And what does Nolan Jones do after that? Strikes out at a near 50% rate, gets hurt, and unfortunately things for the Rockies haven't gone well. This is the first time the Giants and the Rockies are matching up. What can you tell the folks here on the Rockies side? What's going on with the Giants? I look and I see 15 wins. I know that's not what you were expecting.
They're playing horribly right now. They're on this 10-game road trip. They went to Boston. They lost 2 out of 3, and then they went to Philadelphia, and they got swept in a 4-game series. And so right now, like all year long, they haven't really played well. But right now, they're playing their worst on this road trip, and they haven't hit well, and it's weird. They have several pitchers who have done well, but overall, if you look at the ERA, it's like it's certainly the bottom third of the league. And so there are certain pitchers who have really not done well, but there are certain pitchers who really have done well. So it's an interesting kind of weird mix on the pitching side, but offensively right now, they're just lost is the way it looks. And so, when you're not going well offensively, it's always nice to come to Colorado. And so that's kind of the hope, is that maybe, just maybe, this series can get them on track offensively.
Not only come to Colorado, but come to Colorado against a really tough pitching staff, a staff that has had some bright spots. I mean, Cal Quantrill has been great for the Rockies. When all said and done, there have been quality starts for the Rockies, but you pointed out exactly what the issue with the Rockies is as well. This offense is anemic. This offense can't do anything right now. This is an offense that continues to get shut out. It's an offense that goes into Pittsburgh and doesn't do much in terms of scoring against a Pittsburgh team that's also struggling. But it was really interesting, Ben. I think these two teams are usually really different in terms of pitching, especially. And it's really interesting to see the Rockies still higher, but there's usually a bigger gap between these two teams in terms of pitching staff. San Francisco currently sitting at a staff ERA at 4.60, Rockies at 5.65, a whip of 1.35 for the Giants and 1.56 for the Rockies. But it seems to be walks might be a little bit of an issue for this Giants team. 110 walks on the season. The Rockies have walked 129 batters this year, so that has also been an issue. So there's still a gap there, but I'm kind of surprised to see San Francisco closer to the Rockies in some areas instead of that usual gap that we're used to.
I'm absolutely. And for me, I look at kind of the peripheral numbers, right? And the Rockies are dead last. I mean, it's not fair. Playing in Colorado, you're always going to have skewed numbers a lot on the pitching side and on the hitting side. But yeah, I mean, for the Giants, it's hard to explain because, like I said, when you look at who have been their best pitchers, you look at like Logan Webb as 3.50 ERA. Jordan Hicks as a starting pitcher has an ERA of 1.89. You've got Kyle Harrison, the young rookie, at 3.79. And some really good relievers. Ryan Walker, 2.50. Camilo Doval, 3.09. I guess that's kind of where it ends. And No, Tyler Rogers 3.07. So it's just so weird. They've just had like really good pitchers and really bad pitching performances. Blake Snell is currently on the injured list with a adductor strain, not super serious. I think that's the groin.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to rack my brain of where the
I thought it was like, okay, what is an adductor? He mentioned the word groin when he was talking about it, so I assumed it's the groin. Should really have looked that up. But he was terrible in his like brief like 3 starts or whatever. But small sample. I think when all is said and done, the Giants will have an ERA and just a pitching staff that looks a lot better than what the Rockies put together. I just think that's like when you said realism, especially given Coors Field versus Oracle Park. I mean, I just expect a pretty like at least 2.5
Right.
run gap between these two teams.
And well, the thing too is the Rockies haven't played the Giants or the Dodgers yet this year. They've played the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and this is again another moment where the Rockies are going to be severely tested as a team that they have struggled against. I mean, there is no team other than the Dodgers that has handled the Rockies as well as the Giants over the past few years. And you mentioned Kyle Harrison. Harrison on the bump tonight for the Giants here. Really solid start to the season for him, 2-1. So if you're getting this from your back of the rotation young guy, you'll take this line every day. 2-1, yeah. 3.79 ERA with a whip of 1.29 in 38 innings. He's struck out 38 in that time to only walking 10. 5 long balls, so the long ball threat is there. But compared to Dakota Hudson, I mean, this is kind of the night and day differences we've seen between these two teams, especially I think it really feels over the past almost decade, maybe the playoff years not so much. But Dakota Hudson, 0-5, 5.93 ERA, 1.68 whip over 30 innings. 18 strikeouts to 17 walks in that time and 3 home runs. I mean, if you're San Francisco, you're foaming at the mouth right now to go into Coors Field to go up against Dakota Hudson. Now, Cal Quantrill here for I think they'll see him in the last game of the season. That's a different story. But this is the reality of the Rockies rotation. The Rockies have to go with a guy that's got a whip of almost 2.
And the big question is, like, what gives here? The Rockies' awful starting pitching to like with Dakota Hudson, or the Giants' awful offense right now? So which one comes out on top? And for me, and a lot of Giants fans listening, they're probably thinking to themselves, this guy's going to throw like 7 shutout innings tonight. And I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, that's just the Giants the last couple years, really, and this year so far. They just have not been a great offense, even when you add some players like Matt Chapman, Jorge Soler, Jung-Hoo Lee. Like, it just nonetheless, just overall, they're still struggling. Somebody put out a stat. I have not checked it myself, so I'm not going to claim it as real, but that they have only won 1 game this season in which they allowed 4 runs or more. And so that's tough, and especially when you're not pitching great. If you allow 4 runs, you lose. Like and that speaks to the offense 100%. And in Coors Field, it should be different. I would expect the Rockies will score 4 or more runs at least once or twice in this series because of the ballpark mostly. But so the Giants are going to have to score like 7, 8, 9. And we'll see if they can do it.
It's going to have to be a classic Coors Field games for a couple of these, because when the Rockies have won this year, it has been 6, 7, 8 runs, it seems like, in their wins, but the Rockies will even get ahead early and then blow things late. It is just the Rockies haven't been able to put a complete 9 innings of baseball together very often this year, in which has really been a really frustrating watch, because this team has blown multiple opportunities against some good teams and has built leads, but they're going to have to capitalize on stuff like that. It's this time now against a team like the Giants, and at this point of the season, it's prove it time. Like, the first month of the season, excuses are kind of over and done with. If they're going to show us some stuff, and as we're getting close, as the trade deadline starts to loom for the Rockies, they need to start showing stuff. And Ben, I'm sure you were familiar. The Rockies trailed in every single game up until I think it was Friday that the streak ended. The Rockies set a historical streak where they've trailed in 31 straight ball games. 31 straight ball games the Rockies were behind or lost because they lost in the 9th inning. That's history. That hadn't been done since 1910. So this team is looking for energy. This team is looking for a pulse. This team is looking for something because it's really not happening. And I got to be honest, I actually just got back from my bachelor party, so I didn't watch a lot of Rockies baseball this weekend, but it was more of the same. They had a 3-run lead against the Pirates. It was 3-0 for most of the game. It's the 8th inning. The Rockies lose by 2. It's 5-3. I mean that's the story of the Rockies. And until they change that story, there's just no real confidence in this team to do something successful. As long as they fully lean into rebuild stuff, it'll be okay. I just don't know if I really fully think the Rockies want to buy in solely to rebuild stuff because it's just the way they act and, some of their loyalty and roster construction decisions. I want to keep the conversation going about confidence here. You mentioned the offseason for the Giants, and I want to talk about that here and how you feel a month in, and if you're still, especially the Snell call there, and more coming up here in segment number 2, today's episode of Locked On Rockies and Locked On Giants. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. I know us Nuggets fans are feeling a little bit down in the dumps today, but baseball's also in full swing. But FanDuel's got you covered to bet on every single game. They are America's #1 sportsbook, and new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose, no matter what you pick. So if you pick the Rockies, if you pick the Giants, and it doesn't end up working out for you, you're all right. $150 in bonus bets. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Folks, this is the Locked On Rockies and the Locked On Giants podcast. We are previewing the series between these two teams here, getting things ready for another big series at Coors, a series that could be exactly what the Giants needed, and for the Rockies, they're looking to really actually make their claim as a dominant home team. They haven't been great at home this year, 5-10, much better at home. Obviously, the usual case for the Rockies, 5-10 at home this year, only 3 more wins, so 3-16 for the Rockies on the road. Giants 6-14 away from San Francisco. We talked about the pitching matchups. Let's talk about that offense a little bit more. Ben, a good offseason for the Giants. One that you're definitely confident in, and still plenty of time. Where is your confidence level mixed with your worry level? It's May. It's a lot of baseball left, but the worrisome trends can kind of start popping up around this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's right about at the point where I do have legitimate concerns. I think it's been, enough games. It's, I think, 36 games into the season. And one of our beat writers, Alex Pavlovich, who does NBC Sports Bay Area, covers the Giants, he put out a tweet about the last 36 games of last season for the Giants and the first 36 games this season for the Giants, and they're like remarkably similar and really bad offensive numbers. And it was kind of that, like, a lot of people might forget, the Giants were like in a playoff spot most of last season. They were they did really well in the first, they had a 10-game win streak, I think in May at some point. It kind of, they were kind of 10 games over 500 and like coasting there for a while. And then they just went into this tailspin at the end, and it's just continued, and it's different players. And so, like, on the one hand, I look at guys like Matt Chapman, and you just look at, like, this guy's never had a below average offensive season in his career. If you're looking at, like a more advanced number, like weighted runs created plus or something, where 100 is league average. And right now he's at 74. So that means about 26% below average. And he's never been below average in his career. And so I look at something like that. Wilmer Flores, likewise, 17% below average right now by this metric. And Flores last year was like 36% above average, and he's never been close to below average with the Giants. And so I look at stuff like that, and I'm like, you've got to expect that they'll get back to their, unless they get hurt, right? That they'll eventually get hot and go on a roll offensively. Some of these players with track records, and at the same time, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to watch and see and feel confident in the group that you're seeing struggle. They have like Jung Hoo Lee, though, for example. He has hit into a ton of bad luck. Like this guy's been hitting the ball hard all season, and he just constantly he's hitting the ball hard and it's getting caught. And so I think eventually that will come around. And so I believe in like track records. I believe that like Jorge Soler, Matt Chapman, Wilmer Flores, Jung-Hoo Lee with the luck thing, that all of that will turn around. It's just a little bit hard to like really believe it until I see it. But like rationally, I don't think Matt Chapman's going to just suddenly be awful. Like he's just never been awful. He's been at worst like mediocre offensively. And he's been really quite bad. I mean, right now he's just really going through it, and so is Jorge Soler. So we'll see if Coors Field can be the remedy. I mean, this series could change things a lot for the offense. Like if you have a couple of 10 plus run games, you know, it can change a lot of the looks of the numbers of your players, and we've seen that a lot in the past when these two teams match up in Denver.
And if you're looking ahead as well, I mean, if you get a get-right series of your San Francisco, say you win 2 of 3 or you sweep, you see the Rockies in San Francisco. Again, a notoriously difficult place for the Rockies to play for a 3-game set in the middle of May. So, I mean, you're 2 series against the Rockies in May could be exactly the type of stuff that you need if you're San Francisco in order to start. Maybe it's not the big stretches, you know, the 10-game win streaks, but it's here's 2 weeks of ball where we got 2 series wins under our belt. The Rockies, if you're looking, you know, if you want to start shifting the narrative about it, take advantage of a struggling Giants team. If you're able to stifle their offense at Coors Field, your offense has to be able to step up and go up against a staff that has high quality pitching. But I'm curious, Ben. I think there might have been a story about this offseason. I can't remember who they might have been talking about. Is there a reverse Coors Field in San Francisco effect? Do you think that, like Chapman, for example, hitting in San Francisco and hitting there consistently is part of that until he adjusts to that park? Is there kind of that type of feeling, or is it not that extreme in your opinion?
There's definitely something to the ballpark. It gets in guys' heads. It's tough to hit there, and like they didn't hit a home run in their at home in their first homestand of the year. For example, the whole team, nobody hit a homer. I mean, it's just and they hadn't done that, like gone a whole homestand without a homer, I think, in a really long time. And so, yeah, both of these teams play in extreme ballparks. It's pretty interesting. They're like the polar opposites of each other in terms of their environment in which they play. I don't know like that the altitude being at sea level has anything like the Rockies have that altitude thing where they leave Coors and then in the first few games away from Coors
the Coors Field hangover.
The Coors Field hangover. And so the Giants, they'll have to deal with that when they leave Denver, and I think they play the Dodgers at least. I think it's the second series of their next after they leave Denver and come home finally after this 10-game road trip. But I don't know. Like if you look at the numbers, like you said, they're doing well at home. Like not well, but 9-7 or something, and then on the road they've been what is it 6-14 or something like that. So
6-14. Yep.
Yeah. So that tells me 2 things. They've played a lot more road games than home games. And secondly, I guess not that many more, but more, especially because you got 3 more coming up. The ballpark definitely just affects guys, I think. But we've seen it when the Giants have had success, like in their championship era and then in 2021, like it hasn't deterred them. And then those teams, I remember vividly, like they would go on the road and then they would hit well because so I don't really think it has to do much with the ballpark. It does when they're there, but when they're on the road, like you're in Philadelphia, it's a good place to hit. Granted, the Phillies have a really good pitching staff. You know, you're facing like guys like Zach Wheeler yesterday, and that's just tough. They used to go out on the road and just kind of smash opponents when they were good, but right now they're just looking like anemic, like you said. I mean,
Yeah,
this is going to be a really interesting series. Like
it really
something's got to give here with these two
and that's
teams.
the best way to describe it. Both of these teams lost 4 of their last 5. Both of these, I mean, San Francisco is looking to snap a road losing streak. The Rockies are looking to win a series and win. Here's another stat for you, Ben. The Rockies haven't won back-to-back baseball games since the middle of September.
Oof.
The Avalanche and Nuggets won series in 2024 before the Rockies have. So, I mean, if you're the Rockies, it's just you have to beat the opposition. I mean, that plain and simple. It is just go out and beat the other team and play 9 innings. I mean, for us Rockies fans, it's just a matter of there are things, Ryan McMahon is probably off to his best start maybe ever in terms of offense. And there are some silver linings through there. And there are some young guys, but guess what? It's the same old song and this. Chris Bryant, where's he? He's on the IL. He's been on the IL for now, I believe, almost 20 days. And that was after they put him in right field when he was supposed to be a first baseman this year. And what does he do? He misreads a ball, he tweaks his back, and he's not playing. And their young guys are, some of them just simply aren't performing, mixed with an underwhelming pitching staff and a bullpen that hasn't been able to win close games. If you're the Rockies, you gotta just show us something. I mean, that's continued to be my theme from last week into this week. You just got swept by the Marlins. You just blew a series win in Pittsburgh. Now you're coming home against San Francisco. This is a team that's got your number. If you want to show us that there's life, that there's energy to this team, this is a series you got to have, but the task is going to be tall. Even with the numbers being this close, I'm curious because when I see 38 strikeouts from Kyle Harrison, I see 8 strikeouts from him tonight, and the Rockies striking out 11 times. Because what you'll see in this series, Ben, is if it's an 0-2 pitch and you throw an off-speed pitch to this Rockies offense, they will swing and they will miss. This team is really, really struggling in terms of offense as well. You mentioned the Giants are struggling in terms of offense. The Rockies, 235 batting average, 123 hits, 23 runs, 268 hits, 27 of those being home run, an OBP of 297, a slugging of 363. But then, like you mentioned, Ben, this is not the comparison you want to hear here again. Giants 236 batting average. They've scored 132 runs. They've hit 279 times, only 32 home runs, and an OBP of 302. And it's slugging of 367. You don't want to be that close to this Rockies offense. That's how I know, Ben, when you're telling me the offense has been bad for this Giants team, when it's that close to this Rockies team, then I know it's bad. Let's make our predictions. Let's figure out what we think is going to happen in this series, Ben, and wrap up this first of let's see here. 13 games in this season that they will play against each other here, the Rockies and the Giants. And I'm going to ask you the age-old question. Can the Giants catch the Dodgers? We're going to do that coming up here in segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies and Locked On Giants. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes DoorDash. DoorDash has you covered this Mother's Day. And if you want to make mom smile, start Mother's Day with flowers or surprise her with gifts from the brands she loves delivered the very same day with DoorDash. Does mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur, or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. Shop with savings that would make her proud. With the Dash Pass membership, you'll save with a $0 delivery fee and reduced service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fees, do apply, as well as terms. Get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place and get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms do apply. Paul Holden, Ben Kaspick here for Locked On Rockies and Locked On Giants. Ben, series prediction time here. I got the Giants winning this series. I think the Rockies are going to get one with Cal Quantrill there at the bump, and I think some weird Coors Field stuff is going to get there. But I'm really hoping that both of these teams show us a little offense as well. I think that would feel good for both of these teams to see, even if hopefully the Rockies don't, blow it late in the game and for some offense there. But I'm always more of a fan of seeing some good offense and some fireworks there. I just think this Giants team, when you're looking for a get right series, Colorado is the team to play so far this season, and it has worked for other teams. Didn't really work for the Marlins, but for other teams, it's worked for so far playing the Rockies. I just think that even though that there is a difference here or a lot of similarities in the stat lines, the Giants are a team that I always have very little confidence in the Rockies beating.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes, like in baseball, when you're like on paper a better team than what you've been doing, like I think the Giants are a better offense than what they've been doing, and you're really struggling. Sometimes you just get mad and you just get kind of ticked off and you just take it out on the team. And for me, like that is the hope for what the Giants do to the Rockies. You know, they just kind of kick them while they're down, just kind of beat them up and get going offensively. The fear is that like you go into Coors and it's like this Rockies team hasn't won a series, and then you're the team they finally win a series against, even though you on paper are the better team. And so I could see it going either way. I think like rationally the Giants should win the series. And optimistically, like I think a sweep would be really, really important in the long run, like and meaningful to get the Giants back on track. Like if they could, because right now they're 1-5, wait, what? They just lost 4 straight. They're 1-6 on this road trip. And so if you could sweep and make it 4-6 despite starting 1-6, that would go a long way. But it's hard for me to predict a sweep ever. I think if you're like playing well and you're the Dodgers and you're coming into Coors, then you might predict a sweep or something. But if you're a struggling Giants team, I can't just say, oh yeah, they're going to sweep the Rockies. But I do think they probably find a way to win at least 2 out of 3. But my confidence level is not the highest in that. But like I said, something's got to give. It's just going to be interesting to see how it goes down. I really don't know how this series is going to go down at all.
It's not like you to hop on the show and be not confident, Ben. I feel like usually when we talk, especially when it's Rockies and Giants comparisons, that's the interesting story. But plenty of baseball to be played. And as the Rockies, you're looking to open up a homestand here with the Giants, a team that's been good against you, and then the World Series champions roll into town, the Texas Rangers here right after that. So it ain't an easy week coming up for the Rockies whatsoever. It's so. Any opportunity that they get to win ball games, they have to take advantage of it, something they haven't done this year. Ben, we're almost out of time here on a quick episode today. I am curious, can the Giants, in quick lightning round answer, can the Giants catch the Dodgers and beat them in a playoff series this year?
Heck no, they can't catch them. I think that's just not going to happen. The Dodgers, I'm just seeing every night, oh, Shohei Ohtani hit a 460-foot homer, and like, you know, he's like setting records for Dodgers, you know, starts. I went to LA and I saw the Giants got swept by the Dodgers, the second series of the year. And man, they just got their teeth kicked in by that team. And so they're already, what are they, like 8 games back or something already? And so catching
like 8,
the
8.5, yeah.
Yeah, 8.5. Yeah. So no, I don't think there's any way they're catching the Dodgers. But hey, the Dodgers have shown that they can lose a playoff series, you know. And so if you get in, it means the Giants turn things around. And if they get in, they could have one of the best pitching staffs, starting pitching staffs, and they have some really good relievers too, Duvall and others. You know, Logan Webb, Blake Snell, Jordan Hicks has been phenomenal. He's been one of the best stories in baseball, I think. And then young guys like Kyle Harrison, and they've got Robbie Ray coming back, Cy Young Award winner in 2021. Alex Cobb is going to be coming back. So they eventually will have a very good starting pitching staff. That's why these numbers don't really add up, because a lot of these guys are healthy right now. So yeah, I think they could beat, and any team could beat any team in a playoff series, and the Dodgers are known to lose them. They've only one time in this run of dominance not lost a playoff series in a given year, and that was 2020. But they're not going to. I don't. Very, very little chance they catch them in the division. Well, how about the Rockies? Are they going to catch them?
Rockies ain't catching anybody. They're looking to avoid the basement of MLB for the rest of the year. Ben Kaspick, host of Locked On Giants. Find them there at Ben Kaspick. They're Locked On Giants on YouTube. Follow us there. You're subscribing to the YouTube channels. Really helps our shows grow. I'm Paul Holden. You can find me at LO Rockies and as well Locked On Rockies on YouTube. Big series coming up between NL West rivals. We'll see how it happens, and both of us will be breaking down all the action on Locked On Rockies and Locked On Giants.